Hello, 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 and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the movement. We are a motivational organization here to educate minds, empower, nurture, and transform. And Brenda, since you have your camera on, you can do the roll of the neck with us. As Annette so affectionately says, we are a movement to move. Come on, roll it with us, Brand. We are a movement to move. Looking like y'all crazy. We are a movement to move. So we are a movement to move. We want to help you thrust into your purpose so that you can start living your best life and win. When we tap into winners' resources and winners' mindset and sit at the winner's table, we understand that we have a winner's DNA and we can't do anything but win. And we want to win. We want to see you win. So that's the whole purpose, right, Annette?
That is so right, because we are in the winner's circle, and we just want you to come along with us tonight as we begin to drive around and around till you get where you need to be. So we're excited tonight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask a series of questions as we get into this topic tonight, because, you know, we find ourselves in these places so often. And I want to know that if what I'm saying applies to you, if you feel like I'm speaking to you, I want you to type in, "That's me." Okay. So I'm going to go through a series of questions and comments, and I want to know if it's just me, because, you know, sometimes we feel like, you know, other people may or may not deal with what we're dealing with or experience what we're experiencing. And so I just want to make sure that everybody feels me when I say this and feel, you know, and I want to make sure that I'm on the right track. I want to make sure that everybody, you know, gets the best out of this discussion and that we really tap into the surfaces of where people are in their lives. I don't know about you, but have you ever felt like life was collapsing in on you? Have you ever been there? And if you've been there, just say, "That's me. That's me." Yeah, I can relate to that. And as you know, as far as me is concerned, I can honestly say that's me. I have felt that way. I've been there before where I felt like life was collapsing in on me. Have you experienced relationships breaking down from out of nowhere, like just you're in a friendship, you're in a relationship with somebody that out of nowhere, all of a sudden, you know, that thing just goes rotten, just out of nowhere, like, golly, where did that come from? I didn't realize we had beef. Gosh, what? I didn't know that. Really? It's like that? So a lot of times we find ourselves right there. And if that's you, if you feel like you've been there, like, man, I can surely relate to that, just type in, "That's me." And has it gotten to a point ever that you look around your life and you don't recognize the people around you? Like it's like there's been a changing of the guards. Everything's different. Everybody's different. Like you wake up and you feel like you're in a strange land. If you've been there, just say, "That's me. That's me." Got to the point. I look around, I don't know who's with me. I don't know who's for me. I don't know who got my back.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to get ahead? As soon as you take one step forward, you get knocked back 5 feet back. And if you've been there, or if you're there, or if you can relate, just say, you know, "That's me. That's me." No matter what I do, I just still end up here.
Yeah. And
sometimes I even feel like this. Do you ever feel like your dreams are just kind of slipping away? You have this awesome dream, and still, just like when you get knocked back, no matter how far you get knocked back, and it feels like it's like you're within, like, oh, just holding on to this little tiny thread, it's just slipping away. What's happening? It's not supposed to be like this. Whew. Well, there are 2 words that describes everybody's situation and just brings it to a center place that we can just discuss it. And that is, life happens. It makes you just want to throw in the towel and say, you know what? What's the point? I'm just not going to, why am I even doing this? Why bother? Why am I even bothering to go down this road? And I, you know, of course, you know, I have a word to deal with tonight. It's always a verb. And this has happened one other time. where I dealt with the verb and it only had one tense. And that was the case tonight. There was no transitive. There was only an intransitive state, which means
Wow.
it just is. It just is. And that word happens means to come into being or occur as an event, process, or result. So here I am where I'm experiencing life. I'm in the middle of this tornado and it just happens to me. It just occurs. And no matter what I do, I find myself here kind of, every so often. Because I want you to understand something. Your entire life, every time you graduate from one level to another, from one dimension to another, you're still going to have to go through a process.
Yeah.
And that's what happens means. It's like nothing can come into being except that it goes through the process. So you're in an ongoing process, and guess what? You can survive it, you can overcome it, you can deal with it, you can handle it. It just happens. It's, and of course we can go into get real deep with some stuff you bring on ourselves. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Deep, I got it out of the way for y'all. Yes, there's some things we do bring on ourselves. However, there are some things that we can't even control. There are some things that we don't see coming. We don't even have it's a test. We're tested and tried through this process so much. But then there's sometimes that, we just have to understand, and sometimes it happens so that we can understand what we did, and what made this situation happen this way. I'm going to open us up into our discussion tonight. This is an interesting little topic tonight. And it seems so simple, but yet it is also complex. Boy, how many days you been right there?
Come on now.
How many days have you been right there? You're looking at the bills and you got the children in the background making noise, doing things. You don't know what's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle it? How am I going to make it past this? How many times have you been there? And this is what it is. It just happens. Life happens, y'all. Anybody who just came on, make sure you mute your microphone. I'm not going back through the thing because I'm already into our PowerPoint. I may go back a little later. But life just happens. And it gets so intense sometimes that we ask ourselves this question: how did I get here? How did I get here?
Yeah.
And when we look at, just that phrase in itself, a lot of times we'll have our own mindset as to how something's going to go. And there was a quote somebody said one time: life is what happens when you have other plans. And what happens is that we usually think we know what life is in general and how things are going to happen and what's going on around us. And, we think we have it all under control. But then that's when we get into that place, it's just that's what we assume. It's a bunch of assumptions. We assume things about our past. We assume things about our present. We assume things about our future. And none of it is 100%. So my first thing I want to talk about too is that what happens with that life, how did you get here? What happened? It's the story you created. Because our life is lived by building narratives, which are stories about who we are and how the world works. Through the stories, this is how we maintain our personality, our sense, who we are, everything about us. Everything is created from our story. Everything, that's why I say it's important that you tell your story. Somebody needs to hear your story. Somebody needs to be healed and delivered and set free from the story that you have to tell. Because what you have gone through, Annette, I could never fathom some of those things happening to me. I don't know if I would have survived it. And what I've gone through, Brenda probably couldn't fathom, and vice versa. And when we hear somebody else's story, you ever listen to somebody tell their story, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy. I mean, sometimes you be like, yep, child, I can relate. My teenager acted a fool too. Girl, yeah, my sister did this, and my friend, girl, I had a friend. We can relate to some stories, but then there are some things that just have your mouth open, and you look at that person like, what in the world? I don't know how she made it through that. I don't know how she survived that. So the way you got to where you are, it's the story you created. Because when you start telling your story, because we speak our story inwardly. We'll speak our story without even uttering a word. Because what happens is our mind, our thought process will take us into some places that we don't even realize we're going. And you internally start speaking to yourself. And when you start speaking to yourself internally, you're telling the story. I know sometimes I'll speak to myself so loud inwardly that I'll start speaking it out loud. And y'all know I talk to myself. I talk about it all the time. I'm an affirmer. I get in the mirror every day and I talk to myself. I have to talk myself into things and talk myself out of things. So, but still, my mind is always going, even when my mouth is not going. My mind is going a mile a minute, and it's creating the storyline of my life. So the way I got to where I am, good, bad, or indifferent, sometimes in the middle of a storm, sometimes in the middle of, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this business, sometime in the middle of, I don't know how I'm gonna get my way out of this. Oh gosh, why did I make this many appointments today? I got to that point because it's the story I created. Who's in control of the narrative? We live by building the narratives. And a lot of what goes on, we talked about this before. Scientists will tell you that 90% of what goes on in our brain is subliminal, in our subconscious. And we do not surface unless we practice meditation or listen to ourselves deeply. None of that stuff would ever surface. Your personality, who you are, what you're going to do, all of that stuff, none of it would ever surface until you practice it here. Think about it. You've practiced that thing in your mind, in your subconscious. You've thought about it and you've said it over and over again. And then when we're busy taking selfies we'll take selfies and post them on Facebook and Instagram, in fact, without even thinking. And what we do sometimes when the story is off, we'll feed into the story because we post in lies. Oh, I said this to somebody the other day. You don't even look like that. So in your mind, when you do like this, you think you look like Kylie Jenner and you just look like somebody who's been sucking on lemons. You don't look nice. So in your mind, you done replayed that thing over and over in your mind, and then you get in front of the camera and go and look crazy. And then you start posting that stuff, and people think that that's you until they meet you and realize you ain't nothing like the pictures you posted. And we do that long before social media. We'll portray who we are as something else to other people. So this is how we got here. It's the story that we created. And the more we create the story, the more life happens. The more this course of life happens. It includes all of the narratives and all of the stories, but it's a whole lot more than that. There's another thing. You are what you eat. We talk about this from the physical, but I'm talking about it from the mental and from the spiritual. Just like what I just talked about, how you replay that thing over and over in your mind. And when you feed yourself a certain thought about something, you start to portray it and you start to walk in it, even though you might be walking with a limp. The reason why you're walking with a limp is because it's not the way you're supposed to be walking. Something is off about that thing. If what you're doing has a limp from the beginning, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong because you've been feeding yourself the wrong narrative. And you know how they talk about, we deal with this in our healthcare program. You are what you eat. Whatever you put in your body is going to, it's going to show on the outside. It'll show on your skin. It'll show in your weight. It'll show in your health. It'll show in every which way. I don't know why my feet swole. Salt. I just, I really don't know why. I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to get a pill. No, change your diet first. And you'll see a whole lot of things that'll start to change. You are what you eat. And when you eat the wrong stuff mentally, when you put the wrong stuff in here, the wrong information, the wrong, like you're listening to the wrong counsel, then everything that you're feeding into your mind, it starts to come out in the natural, along with, with people, in your business, in your ministry, in your movement, in your family, in your friendships, in your relationship, in your marriage, in everything. You are what you eat. Another thing is, you're not the only one. Now, you might wonder what I mean when I talk about this one. How did I get here? I got here because I have a vision, and I knew that I was supposed to start this program with some women. We got together, we prayed about it for a year. We started actually walking into doing postings and little videos here and there, just encouraging, uplifting people. And then the next thing you know, we started, coming online like, oh, let's do a discussion. We did the discussion through Instagram Live and Facebook Live, kept getting kicked off, and then we ended up here. So now we're here, and guess what? We're showing up regardless. Because you know what? Even though I know that I'm in the center of God's will for my life, I also understand that I'm not the only one who does what I do. I'm the only one who does it the way Anita does it because it's designed. But if I don't do it, God's work is still going to get done. So I'm not the only one who can do this. I'm not the only one that God will use in this area. And guess what? I'm here because I stepped out into a narrative, understanding that I may be unique and I may be special and all of that. But guess what? I'm not the only one. It's not all about me.
Yeah. All right.
Life is bigger than you, y'all. It's bigger than me. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. And you're not the only one, Brent. You can cook, though. God knows she can cook. I know she's not the only one that can. Lord have mercy. Sometimes she's the only one I want to make certain things.
Yeah.
And then my last thing is we're spinning around in our own narrative.
Wow.
And sometimes we find ourselves in this cycle, and it just seems like we just can't get off. It's like a merry-go-round, and we're just spinning and spinning, and we're dizzy. And when you're dizzy, your vision is distorted. You can't see anything clearly. You can't focus. You're dizzy. That's because you're talking too much. And you're spinning in your own narrative instead of the narrative.
Oh.
You just start spinning and almost I don't know if you've ever felt that way. It's like, or if you've ever been around this kind of person. Well, heck, we got a president. But just constantly tell his own story.
Oh, yeah.
And like almost like, you're the only one who's convinced, other than the people who are just like lost, who following you. But have you ever been around people? I mean, I know we see it every day, but you're around those people like, yeah. We I know a family, and then this family too. They say like, yeah, my daddy be on the radio. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, my daddy sang gospel. Oh yeah, who? My daddy. Oh yeah, my daddy. And it's all in you. It's like you're trying to convince everybody else, and everybody's looking at you like, yeah, it ain't all of that, but I hear you, but you lost. That's spinning in your own narrative. You're spinning and you're so dizzy and delusional that you're not fooling anyone but yourself.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And sometimes, when we get to that point, we have to learn how to stop that merry-go-round so that that dizziness will stop and the room will stop spinning, and eventually you'll stop staggering And then everything will get in focus, and then you can see clearly so that you can start the process again and get on the right track. Life happens. It does. You're going to have, you still laughing about this. Life happens. You're going to have mountaintop experiences and you're going to have valley experiences. Yeah. It does happen. Yeah. Things happen, but it doesn't mean that it's the end of your story. You just got to stop and take a moment and ask yourself, how did I get here? Yeah. And you got to deal with it by process of elimination and get your focus back. That's what it's about.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Have you ever had your plans? You've already planned your life. You got everything lined up, and you know, by the time I'm 21, I'm doing this, and by the time I'm 35, I'm going to have all this money. I'll be making this and that, and by the time I'm 60, I'm ready to retire. Well, this wasn't the plan, because what if in your planning you went through a divorce? The man you've been with 30 years decided to walk out on you.
Oh my goodness.
What is with a job that you've been on 35 years and they start downsizing? That wasn't in the plan. What if when somebody dies that you love so much? You know, people have to die, but that was never in the plan. What about sickness? Was never in the plan. So many times we make plans, you know, but it don't always work out. And this is what this topic is about. This wasn't the plan, but. This wasn't the plan, but even when you go through something and, you know, some type of experience that can really rock your world and kind of get you off, you know, get you to a place where you really can't function, you can't think. But there's always a but, because even though it wasn't the plan, there was something that was learned. You know, when you go through something, there's some things that you learn that you didn't even sign up for. You didn't go talk to the counselor.
You better say that.
You didn't get your classes, you didn't get your curriculum all, but you know, but sometimes things happen and you learn. What do you learn when your plans are all, you know, you learn that you're stronger than you thought you was. You learn that you can persevere. You learn that you can overcome. You learn that you can survive. You also learn that things will work out. It may look a hot mess right now, you know, but and another thing, you learn that failure is good, because what failure does is cause you to rethink. Because when you think you got it all together, life will kick you in the throat. And then so what failure does is tell you, a sister, girl, brother, you ain't all what you thought, because Mr. Failure, you know, Mr. Life is knocking on your door. So your plans are all disrupted, you know. And what happens also, you learn how to adapt to change. Because when life hits you, there's some things, it don't matter how much you cry, it don't matter how much you pray, it don't matter how much you roll on the floor. There's some things in life that happen. You just got to learn how to adapt. You got to learn how to live with it, because life comes, you know, and there's more than one way to accomplish things when something happens. Because when you have a plan, you got everything lined up. When life hits you, when death hits you, divorce hits you, you have to rethink your plan. And you have to change. So you got to learn how to adapt and to know there's more than one way to accomplish something. When my ex-husband went to prison, and he got 20 years. And so it took me a minute, because I was so used to him coming home a certain time, and for like months, every time a car go by my house or a door slam, I'm jumping up, because I had gotten used to a certain way, a certain plan. But that everything changed, because now, even though he didn't die, but there was a death to the marriage, because he was no longer there. He was absent. So there's some things that I had to learn. I learned that I could overcome. I learned that I could persevere. I learned that regardless of what life throw at me, I got my pitches and I caught the ball and I kept rolling. And so that's how life is sometimes. But not only that, life also shatters old belief. It shatters your belief. You know, because you get to the point you say, you know what, I've been hurt so bad that I can't even trust nobody no more. I'll never love nobody again. No, that is not true. You know, you get to a point you say, I can't do this anymore, because life caused me to become bitter.
Mm.
I can't tell my friends certain things because I told somebody something one time, and they took it, and it was all over the neighborhood, all over the city. So, but what it does, it shatters your old belief, because I'm here to let you know, regardless of what somebody did to you, you can overcome. Maybe somebody lied on you.
Right.
You can overcome. So when life comes at you, you adopt these beliefs that you'll never overcome. You'll never be anything. You'll never amount to nothing. And that's what those old beliefs are. And life will shatter those and tell you you are overcomer. So what if you've been divorced? So what if they let you go on the job? So what if you've been sick in your body? You can get well. You have to trust God. Death is hard, but you never get past it, but you get to the point you live with it. And so life will tell you that you can't make it. Life will tell you, I can't make it without my husband. I don't know what I'm going to do. But what life does, it shatters those old beliefs. And it lets me know that I am an overcomer. And what it does is it causes me to adjust my goals. Because see, when I was married, I had certain goals. I had things lined up. I knew the monies I had coming in. I had my saving, I could pay all my bills. And all of a sudden, I went from two-person household with money to just mine. So, life shatters your old beliefs. So you just know that regardless of what life does, you are going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Life will tell you, I'll never marry again. I'll never love again. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to let you know that life happens and it shatters old belief. Not only that, it reminds you now is not forever.
Mm-hmm.
See, it hurts now. You're crying now. You're sick now. Your dream is on hold now. You may be disappointed now and don't have any money now. But I'm here to remind you that now is not forever. You may be in your now season, but it's not your forever season. And what happens with us, because of the season we're in, we don't think we'll ever get out of it. Anita, have you ever been like you've been in a season so long, you say, my God, am I going to ever get
Okay.
out of this season?
Yes.
Am I going to ever get past this? But I'm
Yes.
here to tell you that your now season is temporary. It's
Of
not
course.
forever. Your now season is just a place that you are, and you're going to your next level. And a
Yes.
lot of us need now season. A lot of us need to hurt some. A lot of us need to be disappointed, because what happens when you go through that, it gives you a different perspective. When I went through that, and I did eventually divorce the man, which rightfully so. But when I went through that, it was a very difficult time, and I felt like that was my now season, and I felt like I would never ever get past that. Not just for my personal hurt, but because of my family, and because of the reason why he went to prison was very public. And so I would have people call me and say, is that him? I say, yeah, that's him. So it made me feel like I would never get past that, even though I didn't do anything, but I was attached to him. So you don't always have to be the one that causes the problem. Sometimes it's who you're attached to.
Come
So
on.
I'm here to remind you that your now is not forever. So for everybody who's on here tonight, and for those who will hear this later, just know your now is not your forever. But also, when you're in this place, this was not in the plan and place, but it's also promotes growth. One thing about it, if you put a seed in the ground, and you and a little bit I know about planting, and you put manure on it, it germinates the ground, and it causes the plant to come forward. See, every now and then I heard a preacher say there has to be some stank stuff on your life to appreciate where you're going. So, we need that growth to promote it. Broken dreams are necessary for growth. You have to change, how you view things. No struggle, no progress. And this is something I read earlier today. Life hand Life hands you dirt. Plant a seed and life hand you dirt. Yeah, plant a seed and promote growth. In other words, you may have dirt in your hand. You may have a heartache in your hand. You may have disappointment in your hand. But I guarantee you, those are things you can plant, and it produces a harvest. It causes you to grow. When you go through things, I had to mature. When I was I had my first child really young, which I've told a story before. You know, I don't tell a story because I'm pitiful. I tell a story because that's my life. And I remember, like, I went from being the looker. I used to like to play marbles and play with cars, and so I had to get to the point where I had to grow. So when she was born, that promoted growth. I had to stop playing marbles and change diapers. So life will cause you to promote. It'll cause you to go further than you ever thought you would go. It causes you to, say, you know what? It appears like I'm not going to make it. This wasn't the plan, but I am going to make it. This wasn't the plan, but I am an overcomer. This wasn't the plan that I had for my life. But, sometimes your plan and God's plan don't always go hand in hand. I'm not saying don't plan. I'm saying that when it happens, you have to be open. And a lot of times you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Me and Nita can attest to this. When we lost our mother, that wasn't in the plan. That was not in the plan. I mean, but what happened, it caused me to grow. It caused me, because when she passed, I was the oldest one, and I had to deal with her estate. So it caused growth. It caused me to look at my family different. It caused me to really step up, because now I'm the oldest of everybody. Everybody like to say that you're the oldest, but it caused me to look at life different, and I had to grow. I had to get to the point and take care of the business. And I wanted to get in a ball and cry, but time was out for crying, because I had to make sure her estate was taken care of, because my mother had worked for so long, and she had all this stuff, and she left no will. And then we were fighting, and some of my family members, I was surprised the way they acted, but what happened in the long run, we got to the point that I went back and told, and it was my sister. I told my sister, I'm sorry if I did anything wrong, because I could have easily said, she should have, she would. No. I wanted to clear that. I wanted to move to the next level, because life, this wasn't in the plan, but it happened. And since it happened, I want to make sure that I get in a place that I know that, I can feel good about who I am. So I'm here just to say life happens. And even though it wasn't it wasn't the plan, y'all. It wasn't in your plan. I'm sorry, that's life. It happens. You go to bed one way and wake up another. It wasn't in the plan.
Wasn't in the plan.
And next is fix my wig. Now, let me say this before. I bought a couple of wigs, because, I decided to go all natural, which is driving me bananas, but I did. And I bought a couple of wigs, and they were short wigs, and I couldn't figure out which way the wigs went. I have not worn a wig in years. I always wear braids and stuff. And so I was trying to fix my wig. I was trying to get my wig right. But anyway, I gave it away. But that's not the wig I'm talking about. I just wanted to throw that in. Fix my wig. It means walk into greatness. You got to get to the point where your wig is walk into greatness. Life happens, but that does not mean that you can't keep walking. That does not mean that you can't go to the next level. It does not mean that you don't have what it takes. So you just got to fix your wig. You got to walk in greatness and know that you are somebody. Every now and then, y'all, we forget who we are. We forget whose we are. We forget what we've been called to do. So I'm just here to tell you, fix your wig. Go in the mirror and fix your wig and walk, and begin to walk into greatness, because you got what it takes. We're on the winner circle. Is that right, Anita?
That's right.
Yes. So being authentic over conforming. So we have to learn to be genuine, bona fide. Because when you conform to something, you adapt to the way it is. But I find in life, if you learn to be the genuine you, if you learn to be authentic you, if you learn how to wrap yourself in who you've been called to be, and learn how to walk in your anointing and walk in your power and walk in your authority, I guarantee you your mission, your vision, your organization will take on who you are. The problem is we spend so many times, and I talked about this last night, so many times trying to be somebody else and trying to conform the way somebody else did it. Well, even though other people cook, they don't cook like Brenda. So Brenda had to be authentic. She had to come up with a book that supported what she did.
Come on.
Food I had never even heard of, like, where this come from? Okay. But that was authentic. She didn't conform. She could have easily, did it like the other cooks did, and she could have put her book a certain way, but she told a story. It was more than a cookbook. She told a story because she was being authentic to who she was. And so as she told the story, you appreciated the food more, and you appreciated, the recipes, because behind every recipe there was a story, so she was being authentic to who she was. And so if you're going to fix your wig and you're going to walk into greatness, you got to identify who you are, walk in your greatness, be authentic. Don't conform to what other people say. It's nothing wrong now to see how somebody else do it, just to get a general idea. But you have to determine who you are. I am so doggone comfortable in who I am. This is, and I told God, I said, okay, now this is who I've been for 60 years. It don't appear that I'm going to be changing no time soon.
I don't think so.
So I had to learn how to be authentic.
Right.
And so when you are authentic and you begin, like what we do, what me and Anita do, and she do a whole lot of stuff, and then people can see the realness in you, and they learn to appreciate you. They know you. I mean, if you, like, I laugh and tell jokes, they know that's me. That's not me trying to be nobody else. I remember when I first started preaching and all, one of my favorite preachers was Juanita M.O.V.E.M.E.N.T, and I tried to be Juanita M.O.V.E.M.E.N.T, and I thought about it one day. I said, she been through too much. That stuff she been through, I don't want to do that. I could mimic her, but that means I am a copy. I want to be an original, and I want to be authentic. And so when we get on here, we're authentic. This is the real deal. This is stuff that we live and we talk about. So, but not only that, if you're going to fix your wig and walk into greatness, there needs to be a connectivity to your soul. When I was looking at that, I think in the Greek it's psyche. It means to breathe, the breath of life. It means your mindset. It means your thoughts and your feelings. You have to connect to your soul. Who are you really? What's your psyche? Are you really living life like you're supposed to? That's what I'm talking about. Connect to your soul. It's a connectivity to who you are, your psyche. How do you really feel? What do you really think? What is going on the inside? And this is a personal walk. Nobody else can help you with this. You have to connect to your soul. You have to figure out who you are. You have to figure out what you've been called to do. And then once you connect to your soul, then you are able to really conform to the things that you've been called to do. And then you can fix your wig and you can walk into your greatness. And then next you need to redefine what success means. Actually, in the dictionary, success means accomplishment, aim of a purpose. But when I redefine what my success means, it's becoming the best version of myself. That's success to me. It's showing up in life and preparing to do my best. That's what it means to me. It's knowing and walking into my purpose. That's what it means to me. My success means that I have to determine who I am and what I've been called to do, and walk in it and do the best. I mean, walk like crazy. What I've learned in life, even with a child starts off crawling. Maybe you need to crawl, maybe you need to walk, and some need to run. But you have to decide for yourself, what does success mean? Not what the dictionary says, but what is your success level? Because if you're going to fix your wig and you're going to walk and you're going to be able to walk into greatness, there's some things you're going to need to define. And you got to know what your purpose is. And you got to know what you've been called to do. And then once you determine all that, you got to prepare, put things in order, try to figure out what's my next step. Okay, I finished this. What's my next step? I wrote a quote yesterday or a couple of days ago, and I was talking about how, the higher you go on a mountain and you look down, really, and then your valley don't look so bad. So, that's what I'm saying. You keep climbing and keep climbing. I don't care what you're going through, because life is going to happen. But if you go to that mountaintop, that thing that you thought you could not survive, that thing you thought you would never overcome, you look and it don't hurt anymore. I don't know about you, Nita. There's some things I thought just would kill me.
Exactly.
And I look like one day, I'm thinking, well, when did that stop hurting?
You don't even realize it. It's like when you've gone through the storm and you've gone through the heartache, you've gone through the heartbreak, and you've gone through the pain. And, I would find myself asking God, please take this sting from me. Please, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want the lump in my throat. I don't want to wake up and feel my heart going, my heart palpitating. I want to feel any of that. I need you to take it because I can't deal with it. You've got to take this. I mean, I'm like that. And I don't even remember when it passes.
Yeah, you don't.
I can't even put my finger on it. And I'm just grateful that God does it that way.
And that's why you fix your wig, because you got to walk into greatness, and you cannot allow people, situations and things to stop you from walking and fixing your wig and walking to the things that you've been called to do. And that's been our whole thing, to walk into it and finally become companion with great. You got to become a companion with great. You and great have to meet up. You have to meet up. And so great, and I'm going to give you a series of words, and I just believe this is for you, and this is what great is. When you're walking into great, and you're fixing your wig, and you're walking into greatness, you have to be extreme. Greatness is huge, it's strong, it's immense, it's vast. You gotta believe it's abundant, ample. You got, big league, colossal, excessive, gigantic. So you got to walk into your great. You got to believe all these words. You got to believe that what you've been called to do is gigantic. You got to believe that it's vast and it's strong and it's immense and extreme and huge. You got to be able to tell yourself these words. You got to encourage yourself over and over again that I am great. My companion, myself, have decided to meet up with great. And once I meet great and I fix my wig, I'm walking into my greatness, because I got to fix it, because it look a little raggedy. Have you ever seen somebody with a raggedy wig on? You be like, now, wait a minute, now she could at least comb that wig. I've seen some sisters like, I want to pull them and say, wait a minute, now hold up, But then we need to learn how to walk in greatness. Fix your wig. Get yourself in order. Be determined that you're going to walk into this greatness. Be determined that even though life happens, and it's going to happen, but it should not stop you. You may have to step away. You may have to cry. You may have to do some other things, but you come back, you fix your wig, and you begin to walk in greatness.
Exactly.
So fix your wig, my sister, my brother.
So that was good, Annette. I really love how the discussions just kind of bounce back and forth. And now that we get down to this point, it's like, okay, so where do I go from here? He's like, okay, how did I get here? And then we went through, a series of information where we understand that our process was compiled with a bunch of stuff. How did I get here? This wasn't the plan, but, well, I guess I need to fix my wig. And now that I fix my wig, where do I go from here? What's the next step?
Yes.
So I want you to type in this word. I want you to type in the chat, type in the word dream. Because so many times, when we get through our processes of life, when we're experiencing that life thing, we say life happens. It's just an occurrence of what, how we have created this narrative, and we put ourselves right where we are. So now that we're there, it's like, is what you originally wanted to accomplish still relevant? You still have that dream in the forefront of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still there? Because oftentimes we'll get so caught up in our life that has happened that we lose sight of the original purpose. And that's why I said in my last point, in the first part, was that you have to fine tune. You have to get yourself back into the place that, man, wow, this is what I was originally supposed to do. How did I get off course? How did I talk myself out of it? Or how did I allow somebody else to repaint the vision that I envisioned? How are you going to paint my painting? You don't even know in your mind what it's supposed to look like. So, and we'll set all of these goals. I'll listen to people all the time say this goal and that goal and this goal and that goal. But do your goals match the vision? You have to step back and look at yourself and look at your stuff, and you have to, reframe and redream. Go back and pick that dream up from the beginning. We talked about this a lot. I can't remember which topic it was, but we say you have to go back to the place that God first gave you that dream. Before you even took that dream to vision mode, you have to go back and you have to reframe this whole thing. Just like if you have to reframe, if you're shooting a movie or shooting a video, you have to go back and reframe. You have to go back, okay, let me go back to the set and let's put everything in place. so that we can redream. We have to take this thing over because I've missed something here. I have to go back. I have to go back because I need to see where the dream was from the beginning. And then I can go back to the drawing board and make sure that my goals line up with the dream.
Yes.
That's something. So that's the first step. Then we have to eat the elephant. Anita, what do you mean by that? Because I said in the first frame, you are what you eat. Most of the time, we'll get into a position where we bite off more than we can chew. I am a queen of that. We did that, didn't it? We bit off more than we could chew. And I know when we get to that point and we can really tell that story, without like kind of beating around the bush, it is going to really be entertaining to the people to understand where we thought we were and what we tried to do and how, we had to take that little spanking, like get back in line. So a lot of us bite off more than we can chew. We have so much faith in ourselves, and you should believe in yourself. But sometimes your grandiose ideas can cause you to create impossible goals.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to go and you want to do all of this stuff. So you go and stuff. Just imagine if you have one plate of food and you try to stuff the whole thing in your mouth at one time. How do you eat an elephant? One forkful at a time. You can do one thing at a time. So you have to make sure that you take the small steps so that you can get to your end destination. I think there's a quote I'm going to recite from Martin Luther King. He said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And I say this so often, I can't go outside and start stretching and getting myself together as if I'm going to run the New York Marathon. And I have not trained. I have to get myself in position. So I have to do things one step at a time. And it doesn't mean that you're moving extra slow or that you're not getting something done. It just simply means that you're not going to bite off more than you can chew because you have a big old elephant to eat. And you can't eat that in one bite. You have to eat it one fork at a time. Another thing is, nothing is ever perfect. I know there are some people who are just perfectionists to the point that they can't get anything done. They overanalyze everything. I mean, a logo can sometimes take them 5 months because they're analyzing the logo over and over and over and over and over and over again. Well, if you take the pink off here, we'll put the lining around there and put this right here and do this. Oh my gosh. I have jumped off of projects that just didn't seem to move. I remember one time I was a part of this organization and I swear they had a committee for every committee. Oh, well, we have a committee to do blah, blah, blah. First of all, it was only 20 people in the room. So how many committees can you put together with 20 people? You had like 12 committees and 20 people. I'm like, really? I was like, I thought it was just me. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is crazy. So when we become such perfectionists that we over-perfect stuff, perfectionism can kill your motivation. It can kill the room. It can kill the motivation of the team. It can kill the motivation of whoever you're working with because you're just trying to tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak. You can always tweak later. You're going to always see things later. Just get it done. Just get it done. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get something done. Type in ready. Type in the word ready because I know a lot of us have been sitting at goal for a long time. Like, when do I move? When do I get to this point? Where do I go from here? What do I do next? Do something. Just don't sit still. Don't overthink every move. And there's something that you said a while back, like I get up every day and I try to do something for my vision. Yeah. Even if it's something small. And it motivated me. I was like, wow, that is true. Even if you can't get that big thing done that you lied to yourself and told yourself you were going to do, at least something small, because I do that all the time. Oh, I'm going to do so much in one day. Child, please. So I have to get myself up and brush myself up and say, okay, Anita, you didn't get that and that done, but at least you did this. So I can do something every day because I am ready for the move. And I know you're ready. Come on, if you're ready, type in ready. I see you, Yolanda. You're ready. You're ready. You're ready, Linda. You're ready. Linda, you've been ready. The last thing is you have to fine tune your focus. And the focus, I say this all the time, we're blessed so that we can be a blessing to others. And if we focus and fixate on helping other people, child, you forget about your woes, you forget about your problems, you forget about the issues, because what you have, that gift that you have, that vision, that business, that ministry, that dream, that thing that you're working towards is to bless somebody else.
That's right.
Blessed just to bless you, that's boring. You're blessed to be a blessing. I want to bless so many people with information. I want to bless so many people with eat well, live well, be well. I want to bless so many people with, can we talk? We get calls and emails and all kinds of stuff all the time. We're praying for people, all kinds of stuff. And we haven't even really launched. We've just been kind of coasting as we build behind the scenes, because there's a lot that we realized that we hadn't done that we had to go back and do. We're like, we're just going to park right here. And we're going to fine tune our focus, because the main goal is that we're helping other people. We're blessed so that we can bless everybody that's on here tonight. I want to see everybody on here win. I want to see everybody on here do what they're supposed to do. I want to see everybody in here get past those life instances that makes you think that you have to throw in the towel, and you don't. All you have to do, and we haven't said this in a long time, but I want you to type it in, and some of you don't know what we mean by when we say it, but all you have to do is show up. Because if you show up, something will start to happen. But when you show up, you just can't sit there. You have to engage. And when you show up and engage, you're going to win. That's how we built that motto a long time ago. Show up, engage, and win. I want you all to type that in. Show up, engage, win. Show up, engage, win. Don't just sit there. Don't just stand there. You have to show up. When you get there, you have to do something. You have to put your hand to the plow. And when you do those things, you will win. Show up, engage, win. Period. Show up, engage, and win. And that excites me. That motivates me, because that makes me put my focus in the right place. Things are going to happen, people. Nothing is ever going to happen perfectly. Nothing is ever going to happen like that picture perfect moment that you see in your mind. But at the end of the day, what you have is a gift. And it's serving no purpose in your mind, on your computer, and on your desk on a piece of paper. It's serving no purpose like that.
That's right.
You have to get out beyond your comfort zone, and you have to step out into those unknown places and allow God to exercise the gift that's on the inside of you to bless other people. Otherwise, you take all of that potential. You can't do anything with it. You're going to take it to the graveyard. And then what you don't do, God will raise up somebody else that will do it. And you have a legacy. You have something to leave. You have something to share. Share it. Amen.
Amen.
Amen and amen again. All righty. Well, we're going to open up the lines. Anybody want to say something? You can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself and talk. You have control. But we want to hear from you guys. This is what this thing is about, is can we talk? And I know, we talk all the time. The internet talk, but we want to open up the lines for you guys to say something. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what's on your heart. And we want to hear that you're motivated and inspired to do what you've been called to do. Because there's some great gifts on here. I know some of you got some of your stories individually. And we talk to a lot of you guys all the time, and some of you are new. We have some visitors on here that we don't know who they are. We have some people on here. There's somebody on here hiding, and she don't think I know who she is, but she's called in on her phone. I know exactly who she is because I went and looked up the number. All the time, I'm like, I wonder who that is. I wonder who that is. Now I'm not gonna call her name because I know she's listening. However, if you want to say something, you can unmute yourself. But yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself. But then this was like a real deal tonight.
Yeah, it was.
Whoa. I don't know. It was like, sometimes there are those that convict, and then there are those that inspire.
Yeah.
And this one inspired me because, we run into those roadblocks. We run into that wall where life just happens. Things happen that you can't control. And some things that brought yourself into, but you can't control, the train wreck, because it's going to come to a screeching halt. Sometimes you're going to come to that place that, that makes you realize, yes, Linda, I knew you were coming. Come on, love.
Hey, Linda.
Amen. Amen. I enjoyed the session on today. And I tell you, I'm experiencing some things right now where there's so many roadblocks in my life right now. But I know I must have mind over matter and
Amen.
continue to jump over all the hurdles that's in front of me. I did it one time, I can do it again.
And again.
It's just a matter of who's in charge.
Come on.
Is it in charge? Or you in charge? That's the question. If you let it win, you'll never go nowhere.
Come on.
But when you stand up and take charge of it, then you win.
Come on.
So I must win. I must overcome, and I will overcome.
That you shall do, honey.
I'm just excited.
It's always when, like you look at your situation sometimes and you're like, man, like we were talking about this in the beginning of the session. It's like, have you ever been at that point where you feel like, life is closing in, that no matter what you do, it just seems like you just can't get that thing started. You can't seem to get ahead. You can't seem to get out of that little cycle. And, it makes you want to throw in the towel, but you know that you can't.
You can't.
You can't throw in the towel. You have to press your way through. You have to.
Exactly. But one thing you got to realize, life is not a fairy tale. Life throws some real curves at you.
Yes, it does. Life will definitely throw you some curveballs.
That's right. That's right. But that goes back to what I said earlier. You have to be in charge. You have to take control. You have to make sure that you're gonna, it's like you can't throw in the towel, because if you throw in the towel, how in the world are you ever going to get ahead?
True.
How are you ever going to be successful?
And you know what? If you throw in the towel, where will you end up at that point? At another beginning.
That's right.
And you walk that long in that journey, so you're going to throw in the towel. And it's often said that most times people throw in the towel or quit right before the finish line.
Yeah.
So imagine that you throw in the towel and you're so close to the finish line, but then you end up right back at start.
That's a bummer.
All right. That is so true. I don't want to go back to the beginning.
When Annette was talking about her life as a young mother, it will make you grow up.
Yes.
Because I remember when I became a young mother, all foolish things had to leave.
Yeah.
And even though the father wasn't there, I had to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
I had to do what I had to do. And I had to live a life, an example, so that my children would grow up successful. And then I realized I can't let my past rule my future.
That's right.
All men are not the same. Exactly. I had to realize that. But for a long time, I had a block up at my heart. I'll never love again. I'll never get involved with nobody no more. I was just angry inside. And as time went on, I had to realize, take it down. Take it down. Don't be afraid to step into the unknown. Because happiness is out there.
Yeah.
That's right. And it will find you one day.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
hey,
let me tell you, baby, you reminded me of a song my cousin wrote for me years ago called "A Closed Sign on My Heart's Door," and it's one of those songs But you know what? And you're right, Linda. It's like you have to learn how to get past those issues and not, make every situation that you're in final. It's not the final. It's not the end. That's not the last word. God has the last say so. But if you throw in the towel, you'll end up like on the episode of Martin when he went to the driver's license office and he had to go back to scratch. He had to go from remember that he had to go all the way back to the beginning to the line from scratch, which was like far from the door. And he was like, "No, I ain't going back to scratch." So that happens. But you know what? You can't allow yourself to get to that because I don't want to go back to the beginning of the line. I want to stay in I want to keep my space, my spot. I want to keep my spot.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to say anything before we go off? How you doing, Francesca? Good to see you doing your little clothes tonight. You hanging in there? Cool beans. All right. Well, good people, we have come to the end of the road. If nobody else wants to say anything, we're going to sign off tonight. We thank you all so much for coming. We are here every week, same time, same place, right here on Zoom at 7 p.m. New topic, the same two people having this. We're so excited. We want everybody to show up, engage, and win in whatever it is that you are setting out to do in life. Annette, you want to say anything before we sign off?
Oh, yes. I'll thank you so much, everybody. Especially thank you for sharing with us every week. We have people that come back every week. So if you can, next week, bring somebody because we have a word for them. So thank you again for sharing with us tonight.
All right, good people. Well, you guys enjoy your week. You have a blessed one. Remember to show up, engage, and win. And it is not over until God says so. He gets the last thing. We want to see
Love you guys.
Walk in that thing. Walk in it. Walk in your blessing. Y'all have a good one.
All right, bye.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Bye, Francesca. Bye, Valerie. We see you.
She's still recording.
You know I have to show my face at the end.
I know you have to show your face at the end.
Y'all good?
We good, girl.
I'm sorry. I had to go. My cousin had called me from Georgia, and that's why I darted out and I came